Welcome back to Blender Sushi LiveNoding. In this episode, I want to share a bit of knowledge when dealing with 3D typography using geometry nodes. Okay, we have two text objects here that's being generated using geometry nodes. The first one just say crash, and this is you can change this with anything, any word. Just keep it simple. Just say crash. This one is crashing. This one is blended together. Blend. So the setup inside geometry nodes is basically like a string to curve, and then the second one is just filling the curve so we can extrude it. So you can use the n-gon or the triangles, whichever you like, and you simply extrude it as much as you want. And then after I do that, there's this realize instances. This is actually quite interesting. If you didn't use the realize instances, all the texts will be separated, so they will still be separated. But if you realize instances, they're gonna be a single mesh that's merged together. Okay, and then I simply use distribute points on faces. This is actually kind of something that you can play around with just to create like points. And then of course I use the points to volume, volume to mesh, just the usual drill. This is distribute points on faces. You can use random or pause on disk and play around with the density and this density maximum. And also I believe you can control, you can set the radius of the point. So set radius, set point radius also should affect the final look. But then again, points to volume and points to mesh, if we unmute this using M, it's gonna affect the final result. So you don't need the set point radius. Okay, so this is the original. The second one is using the same setup with the different text font. In this case, I also use Decimate. So with Decimate, you can control the number of triangles. What's happening next is another geometry nodes where I use dual mesh. You might have seen me using this before, similar techniques, but I like to play around with these ideas because it's really pretty cool. In this case, I'm still relying on the solidify as a modifier, but you can also use extrude actually. So instead of using solidify, you can use extrude, because what's happening inside here, I'm turning, let me actually get rid of the solidify, get rid of the remesh. Okay, we have like a fake Voronoi using dual mesh, fake Voronoi, and then split edges, splitting all the edges, and then scale the elements. After you split the edges, you can scale the elements and you have this result. Definitely something that you can play around with as well. And you use solidify, and we have this pretty cool like fake Voronoi 2D, which is just happening on the surface. And after I do that, I just create duplicate. So we have like a tree. I like to show you the process, you know, like if you're cooking for an ideas, I like to play around with 3D typography because I used to be graphic designers. So yeah, we have this result. Play around with the Decimate. If you want to have like a true 3D Voronoi, remember the setup before. So we crash, we blend. I want to crash these objects. So from this geometry nodes, we have this 3D text. I just right click. I'm gonna convert this into mesh. Okay, and we're gonna use the Cell Fracture add-on. Remember, Cell Fracture is always inside preference, inside this add-on. So this is, it always comes with Blender, and all you need to do is just F3 and then cell fracture selected mesh object. It's gonna do the processing. Okay, now you can just move this into new collections. You have the original objects. Apparently we don't even need to create a particles, so this is kind of nice. Select objects hierarchy. If I'm not wrong, we can just use rigid body. So add active and then create a plane. Object, rigid body, add passive, and it should crash. Pretty cool. So this is the result. Of course, you don't. You can actually do a little bit more as well with this. You don't stop there with this crashed text. Remember, you can always create a new default cube and then create geometry nodes and then drag and drop the collections and simply use this. If you plug this, separate children, oops, okay, it says collection contains current objects. Okay, be careful here. We have the cube that's actually inside. Okay, we need to be careful. This one need to be outside under the scenes collections. Okay, now it should be right, and then we can use scale instance just to scale our text. So you can see how all this process, all the techniques to create like a Voronoi, fake Voronoi 2D and on the surface, and the actual 3D Voronoi that's like broken pieces of objects that you can scale. And at this point you really just need to experiment yourself with scale, maybe rotate it a little bit, rotate instances. I've shown you this many times, but every time I show you it's a little bit more complicated because yeah, I'm assuming that you understand. I'm assuming that you know we have seen something like this before. So, and after you do that, you can just remesh. If you remesh, just do it from the outside. If you want to remesh with these geometry nodes, you need to realize instances. So it's pretty cool the way that we can do this like really smoothly without any hiccup, and it's all really fast, so you can really play around with the ideas. Randomize the seed, randomize the rotations, all sort of things. So from the single text, you can turn it into 3D Voronoi and then just do more. You have this really cool looking 3D text, or something that's a little bit simpler with the 2D Voronoi, and you can also remesh. I like to use remesh because it's just making, it's kind of blending everything into a single object once again. Alright, so yeah, we crash and then we blend. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.